Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Love is Blurry, our Love is Blind recap podcast here on Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. I know it's been a while, but it's your host, Javier, and today I am joined by some who's no stranger to the pod, who has been on a recent episode for season 4. I'm joined today by Katie. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here talking about Love is Blind. It's been a minute. I always like talking about these like love shows because they're just so crazy and you don't have
Mhm.
to take them seriously. So I'm excited.
Exactly, and it's such a different take because I feel like we always podcast a lot about like
Hmm.
competition shows, so it's
Yes.
nice to like change that like gear.
Yes.
But yeah, so like I said, it's been a while, but we are back to discuss Love is Blind after the altar for season 4. So they do this every year. They've been doing it every year where basically they do like kind of like a 1 year past the show being recorded reunion. And they usually give of us a few episodes. This time they gave us 3 episodes about like where all the couples are, and where everyone's at. And even for some reason, I feel like this year they introduced a lot of new people, which I feel
Yes.
like has been different for how after the altar usually is.
I literally was like, who are these people? I've never seen half of these people before.
Yeah, they like went overboard. They brought
Yeah.
in friends. They made Shelby a regular, which we'll get
Oh my
into
God,
for some
Shelby.
reason. I don't know what that was about.
Our girl Shelby.
But yeah, so before we just get into all of that, so the way we're going to go through this is it's going to be kind of free flowing. We're going to start with episode 1 and then kind of just talk about how we felt about all the couples and about all the things that happened. And we'll go from there. All right, everyone. So when we start with episode 1, Katie, the first people we get to see are my favorite couple from the season, Brett
Mm,
and Tiff, right at the
yes,
start, because to me they were the stars of the episode.
they were.
The stars of the season, not just the episode, the
Yeah.
stars of the
Yeah.
season for me. And like so this first episode, what are your thoughts on this first episode? Seeing these people back after a few months, what were your thoughts coming back into Love is Blind?
I was excited to check in and see where everybody was. I was hoping for a little more drama than we got in the first
Mm-hmm.
and second and maybe third episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the last few have been a little more dramatic, but I guess it's because a lot of the couples have broken up or like didn't end up together. But this season had so many married couples at the end that it just, and they're all, spoiler alert, still together. So it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I guess everybody's just like living a normal married life. So
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know. It was good to see everyone though.
yeah, no, I agree. I didn't really know what to expect because I did enjoy season 4 overall, but
Hmm.
I felt like at the end of the season, everything felt kind of resolved, and that's kind of how I feel like these 3 episodes were.
Yes.
Like they were like I agree. Like I kind of wanted a bit more drama. We got a little drama finally in episode 3,
Hmm.
which we'll get into eventually. But yeah, I felt like they could have given us just a little bit more, and I think that's why they brought out so many of
I
these
think
like
so.
people we have never seen before because they were like running out of content to fill up these 3 episodes.
Hmm. Yep,
So,
totally.
but yeah, so as we jump right back in, we start with Brett and Tiff. They kind of talk about like their move to Portland. They're talking about a trip that they're taking to Cartagena.
Hmm.
And it's very much like what we know of Brett and Tiff,
Yeah.
that things just seem always peachy for them, which is great. Don't get me wrong. And like I think over these 3 episodes we saw that too. Everything they seem to be in a good place, and there wasn't really much beyond the. I feel like we didn't see that much change in their couple from like they've
Hmm.
been married for a year now. But I am happy to still see them succeeding, and they seem to be doing really well. Did you have any thoughts on Brett and Tiff in this episode or over the past 3 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's interesting because I feel like the show focused so much on Kwame not wanting to move, but they didn't really
Mm-hmm.
talk much about Tiffany moving and the fact that Brent lived in Portland. Like that was almost not covered in the show, like the show proper. So it was interesting that they touched on it here. It didn't seem like she's loving Portland, but she loves Brett, so she's ready to stay there and commit to him, which is always nice. But it felt like these two are kind of like the glue that brought all the other couples together. It feels like
Mm-hmm.
they're central to, I don't know if I would even call it a friend group, but it just feels like they're the people that like bring everyone together. So it's nice that like they feel like the centerpiece, which it kind of makes sense because they almost felt like the centerpiece to the show. Like that's how it
Mm-hmm.
was in season 4. Like you would always see them having the conversations and, like giving people advice, and they've always felt like they've just been together forever. So it's nice to see them still in that position.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. It was great to see them, be happy again because I wanted to see them succeed. I
Yeah.
wanted like in the past episodes I talked about that as well. So I feel like there's not much more to say about Brett and Tiff in that sense.
Yeah.
Like they seemed happy, and everyone's happy because I'm happy that they're happy.
Yeah. And I'm
So,
happy that they're happy and I'm happy that you're happy that they're happy.
so that's Brett and Tiff. So next in the episode, we get to see Bliss and Zach. So they kind of had a tumultuous relationship. Zach first left with Irina. Just to quickly recap for anyone who is listening, he first ended up proposing to Irina, and he said no to Bliss, and then he realized that Bliss is the one he loves because he had drama with Irina. And they had like their ups and downs like after the pods time, but they seem to end on a high note, and it seems that things are still going really well with Bliss and Zach. When we
Yeah.
see them again, they're getting allergy shots for the dog. Again, this show loves their dogs. There was
I
Chelsea's
know.
dog, and now those drop. That's when I first knew. By the way, Katie, my first thought was like, oh, there's not going to be a lot to go for these 3 episodes. Like they're focusing on these two going to get allergy shots.
Allergy shots. Yeah. Not too much to dig into with these two. But yeah, no, I mean, my biggest takeaway from this was that like you just met this guy, Bliss, and you're giving up your animals for him, for a man that you've only known for like what, a month? Like I could and would never. I literally would never give my cats away for anybody. Seems like they're getting the animals back. Justice for the cat, whose name I forget, but like they took the dog
Yeah.
back, but didn't bring back the cat yet. So like, what are we doing? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's commitment. She must have really liked him to get rid of her dog and her cat. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, same thing. Like I mean, I don't have a dog anymore, but my parents' dog, when I used to live with my parents,
Hmm.
was still around, and I loved him, and I couldn't even imagine like getting rid of my
No.
pet for someone who I met, like you said, a month ago.
Yeah,
But
like
it's
wild.
it seems to have worked out for them. Bliss and Zach seem very happy. They talk again about the singing scenes, which I think we all discussed. Like in our opinion, they were cringe, but it seems
Cringe.
that Bliss is a big fan of it, so that's why they seem to be like a match made in heaven almost with that.
There's
So good
someone
for
for
them.
everyone, Javier. There's someone for everyone. This is what this tells me.
And
Zach
this
was like almost like a
exactly.
jump scare to me on that. I was like, oh, I forgot about him. I don't know. He's a
I was
lot.
scared we would have to hear him sing again, but luckily we did not.
I
So I
know.
was
Thank
very
they
happy.
spared us. The part where they were
Exactly.
like, there's 2 hour serenade sessions. I'm like, imagine this dude singing for 2 hours. Like, what are we doing?
Like, dare I say I get a divorce? Like, what?
Yeah,
It's almost
same.
torture. Like, come on.
Yes, so awkward. So
Yeah.
awkward.
So that's where we touch upon kind of with Bliss and Zach. Then we move on to another couple who had another pretty rocky season. Chelsea and Kwame are the next couple we see in episode one.
Mhm.
Again, a quick recap with Chelsea and Kwame. Kwame had a thing with Micah, who we'll talk about in a bit, who ended up going with Paul and saying no to Kwame, and then he ended up going with Chelsea. And then there was drama during the season about like Kwame not sure if he wanted to change his lifestyle for Chelsea, and also
Mhm.
about him not meeting or Kwame's mother didn't want to be in the picture, which we finally got some resolution about in these two
Yeah.
episodes, which is nice, which we'll get to. But they ended off on a good note, it seems. We saw them on a good note in the reunion, and they come back and they seem to be still on a good note. When
Yeah.
we catch up with them, they're about to throw pitches as if they're celebrities, which I was shocked. I thought only celebrities throw pitches at baseball games.
Was that a minor league baseball game or was that like a professional baseball game? I
That's a
don't
good
actually
question.
know, but
I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not sure.
But I was shocked when I saw that. I was like,
Yeah,
we
like
put
if
reality
there
TV
was.
stars to throw pitches. Hello.
Yeah, excuse me? Yeah.
So that's kind of where we see Chelsea and Kwame in episode one. They seem to be doing well, and throughout the next 2 episodes, when we get into them, they do seem to be doing well. And I personally am like happy for them. While watching the season, I felt like they wouldn't have worked out,
Yeah.
but I guess I'm glad I'm wrong because love is great, and that's what the show's about. So it seems like they found each other, and they do seem like I felt like when I was first watching the show, their couple seemed forced, and now they seem
Yes.
to have found a good rhythm. I feel they like bounce
Hmm.
off of each other. They seem to have a very similar sense of humor. And how do you feel about Chelsea and Kwame?
Yeah, they were actually the two I was most curious about to see where they were at today. Mostly because a little behind the scenes, not really, but in New York, Kwame was at the Big Brother premiere and there was like a karaoke party, not a karaoke, lip sync battle party the night before for Big Brother
Mhm.
25. Kwame was at both of those events and Chelsea was not there. So I was very curious, like, oh, are they still together? Did she just not come on the trip? He wasn't like doing anything weird or anything like with anybody that I saw, but I was just like very curious of like, oh, I wonder if they're still together or if they've broken up or whatever. Turns out they're still together. But those were the two I was most curious about just because he was alone at the events. So he wasn't even like hanging out with the other reality stars. He was like literally just like walking around by himself. It was
Just
that I
vibing.
saw, just vibing. So yeah, I mean, good for them. I see she still loves pink. She has not retired the pink
Hmm.
nails and the pink dress. It's
She probably
giving
loved Barbie this
Barbie. Yeah,
year.
she
Yes,
must have
exactly.
loved
She was
Barbie.
probably very happy with
Yes,
Barbie this
so
year.
happy with Barbie. And now all like the new pink stuff that's out because of Barbie that's inspired by Barbie. She could buy so much more
Yes.
pink stuff now. But yeah, no, good for them. I'm happy that they worked out. I agree with you. It felt like they were super forced on the show. But in these episodes, it definitely seemed like they were more genuine with each other. And plus, like, it's a year later. So I guess, if they didn't really want to be together, I guess they wouldn't be, right? So good for them.
Yeah, good for them to figure out those compromises they needed. We
Yeah,
heard the word compromise a lot
a
in season
lot.
4, and it seems to have worked out for them. So good for
Yeah.
Chelsea and Kwame. Next up, we get a very interesting pairing. We get to see Paul and Micah and what they have been up to. And just a quick recap for everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, Micah and Kwame had a thing. Micah said no to Kwame and picked Paul. And then essentially at the altar, we had a very interesting moment where Micah said, "No, I'm gonna let you say, like, do you want to marry me or not first?" And Paul said no, and they ended up not getting married at the end, which was for me like I thought they were 50-50 while watching the show. But I guess maybe Shelby got in Micah's ear. No, I mean I don't know what it
Mm,
was, but it was definitely like they had a pretty up and down relationship. It kind of I think earlier in the podcast, on an earlier episode, I think someone described it as like they were like toast, like they were kind of a boring couple.
yes. Yeah.
Um, and so when we get to see them now, we really get to see Micah first, and we get Micah she's going on like a date with Paul's mom.
This is so weird to me. This is
Yeah,
so
we need
weird.
to talk about this, Katie, because what is going on here?
Also,
What were your thoughts? Please
well,
tell.
Paul's mom is like, well, if he doesn't like it, too bad for him. That's his problem. I'm like, that is your son, ma'am. Like, this is so weird to me that, like, okay, she's like, okay, here, I'm back now. Or no, I guess Paul's mom was visiting, right? Paul's mom was visiting Seattle. Micah moved
Yeah,
back. So, like, you're visiting your son and you're making time to go hang out with his ex fiance that he said no to at the altar because he said he could never envision her being a mother. Like, this is weird. And she's like, no matter what, you're my friend. And I'm like, how are you friends? You're like, you could be her mother. I mean, you almost were her mother-in-law. This is so weird. It was just so weird to me.
yeah, no, I fully agree. And then they had like a little discussion of like, oh my god, we're so similar again, which is something
Yeah.
we like talked
Hmm.
about in the past too. That like it's kind of weird how similar Micah and Paul's
Yes.
mom are, and maybe that's why they vibe so well. But I was like,
Maybe.
Mom, you got to pick a side. Like if this was my mom, I'd be like, hello.
Right.
I've known her. You've known her for less than I have. I proposed after like a week, and you known her for like 2 days, and now you guys are besties.
Yeah.
So
It's
I don't
wild.
know what that's about. But we do get some tea from Paul's mom.
Hmm.
She tells Micah that Paul has been talking to a new girl. And Micah seemed a little bit like she was a little shocked because she was also saying that her and Paul have still been like have
Hmm.
seen each other a few times and still text here and there. So I don't know. What do you think about like where Paul and Micah are right now, Katie? As we come back to this love to the after the altar episodes.
It's weird. I feel like their whole situation is a little unresolved because we saw, even I think at the reunion, they said that they tried dating, it didn't end up
Mhm.
working. But I didn't realize, I guess, we hear Paul later say that he was like committed to trying to date her, but she broke up with him and said, like, if I ever move back, which is. I didn't get that impression at the reunion. I thought that he only went to visit her once and that like he wasn't feeling it. And maybe
Exactly.
I misread it, but that's what it seemed like from the reunion. So I feel like this is a whole different story of like now Micah broke up with him but wants to be with him. It's just it's all very strange. Like and I still feel like it's unclear because he's dating somebody. He said he's seeing somebody. He was talking to his mom about the girl he's dating and was like, she loves my cooking. And Micah didn't like my cooking and like that kind of stuff. But then at the end of the episode, or the end of the 3 episodes, it still almost seemed like Micah was still hoping something would
Hmm.
happen. But I'm like, okay, wait, is he dating someone or not? And why are we not meeting her? That's what I want to know. I want to meet the girlfriend or
Yeah.
whatever.
So
Maybe it's not official, but
yeah, no, I agree. Like it was very weird to like, to see that like interaction, the mom spilling the tea and like Micah's reaction. 'Cause,
yeah.
like I agree, like over these 3 episodes, it was very much like there seemed to almost still be some unresolved feelings
Hmm.
there. And like you said, I also agree. I felt like the unresolved feelings at the reunion were like not really there. Like I felt like Paul had made his decision and he was like
Yeah.
moving on. But now they make it seem like even Paul also has some unresolved feelings in episode
Yeah.
3. He was like, I really like you. And like, he also seemed pretty down about like where things ended up ending by the end of these 3 episodes. So I don't know what's going on with these two. I almost wanted to Google like, are Paul and Micah still seeing each other? Like what?
Yeah.
I need some more tea. Like these 3 episodes have not given me everything that I need to know about these two. That's how I feel.
I feel like that too. And I just want more clarity because I know when they film the show, we don't really like see the show for a while after, right? Like they
Hmm.
film it and then we see it. What is it, a year after, or is it a little less
Maybe
than a
a
year?
few months or less.
Few
Yeah.
months. So then like when did they filmed this for their 1 year anniversary? So this has to be pretty old too. So like
Hmm.
what is happening today? I want to see what's happening today, right now. Give me an update on right now. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
We should get on Google and figure it all out.
But we saw how the live reunion fiasco happened. So maybe
Mm,
Netflix should not
yeah.
handle
Yeah, no.
cannot handle like live
No,
where
no.
they are now because that was a mess, like
That was a mess.
a whole nightmare. So
Yes.
but moving on from Paul and Micah, the last group pairing that we see here is Jackie and Josh. So these
Mm,
are a very interesting duo. Quick backstory: Jackie said no to Josh and ended up going with someone named Marshall, and Marshall and Jackie got engaged, and they had a super toxic
toxic.
relationship. Like just the most toxic thing ever. They were always arguing, yelling at each other. Like she was like emasculating him. He like dragged her for some other reasons, and it was just like a whole mess. They did not even get to the altar. And by the end of like the original season and the reunion, we learned that Jackie and Josh are together.
Hmm.
Jackie and Josh do not even go to the reunion, which was also a bit of an uproar when
Yes, that's
that
right.
aired because people felt like Jackie and Josh got the easy way out because they got a one-on-one interview with Vanessa Lachey, and she asked them a few questions, and it seemed like they were happy at the end there.
Yeah.
So then we
Because
jump
she
to
was
them
getting
now.
death threats, right? That's why she said she didn't go because of the death
Yep.
threats. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said. So yeah, so now we jump here to the after the altar. Jack and Josh seem to be happy together. To me, their relationship still feels like forced. Like I know I said Chelsea and Kwame felt like they were forcing it, but actually Jackie and Josh seem
Yeah.
very, very much like they're trying to force it. My thing with Jackie is that I honestly always felt like Jackie was doing it for clout. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
I felt like Jackie wanted to be on reality TV, and I haven't gotten rid of that vibe. Even with the way episode 3 ends, which we'll get to, I still feel like Jackie still kind of lives for having the camera and a little bit of drama in her life. So, what do you
Yeah.
think about Jackie and Josh when we see them?
I agree with you. I actually, and I think we talked about this like back when I came and joined you and Isaiah. I don't hate Jackie as much as everybody else hates Jackie just because I was not a
Mm-hmm.
fan of Marshall. So I just feel like she's very immature, but I do feel like she has a lot of emotional intelligence work to do, I think. But I
Mm-hmm.
think and like maturity. But I think I don't know. Something about these two seemed very strange to me. Like it almost felt like their relationship was not real and that they were just doing
Mm-hmm.
it for the camera. Like when they were in the Ferris wheel and he was like, "All this is can be yours. Like all this can be yours." She's like, "Oh, you're gonna get it to me." And he's just like showing the city of Seattle. I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean? All this can be yours?" It's
Yeah,
like a city of Seattle. What are you talking about? And then he said the same thing in their apartment. I was like, "Is this like a line that you say?" And then when
we're
they were
being
in the
fed
apartment,
information.
yeah, like, and when we were at the apartment, it just seemed like he couldn't stand her. Like it just seemed like
Yes.
he was really annoyed by her and everything that she did. And he was like, "You do this. No, like you can do this." And it wasn't like playful. It seemed like he really
Yeah.
was annoyed by her. And then
Mhm.
even when he popped the champagne, she was like, "Oh, I'm moving over here so you don't hit me." He was like, "Oh, I was gonna face it towards you because like you're irritating or something." I don't know. It was like some really rude
Yes.
thing. And
Yep.
then he didn't even cheers her when he drank to like celebrate their apartment. Something seems off with these two for sure. I don't really
Mhm.
know what it is, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not really buying what they're selling me.
Exactly. I'm not buying it either, but I mean, if it works for them, I will say that like by the end of episode 3, I did have to Google, and they are still together.
I don't
So
understand.
maybe they just are bad at relationshiping, and it works since they're both bad. It's good. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I
Because
don't
they're
know.
still together after a year, so something is going on there. And even though it looks weird on camera, I guess it's working for them. Which, two thumbs up, good for them, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really know. It's
Yeah.
weird. And then like the apartment that they moved into, I was curious about the floor plan. I needed to know
Or
more
black.
about that. Yeah, like the apartment looked so weird. I was like, is there a bedroom here, or are you guys moving
Oh
into a
yeah,
studio
yeah,
apartment?
yeah, yeah. You're
Your
right.
kitchen is tiny. It's like a mid, and like, listen, I know we both live in New York. We know what
Yeah.
tiny apartments are, but I was like, this is, I don't know. I don't think I could live with a partner in that small of an apartment,
It
especially
almost
one that seems to hate me because he seemed to hate
yes,
her.
literally. And to me, the apartment also felt like a setup apartment. Like they
Yeah, it
just
felt
had to have them
fake.
walk into
Yes.
somewhere.
And he just comes in with two boxes, and like
Yeah,
one is a rug, and then the other is like Christmas decorations. I was like,
yeah.
these are the two boxes that you're bringing into this apartment is
Thank you.
Christmas
The
decorations
first
and a rug. A little,
boxes you bring are
it makes no sense to me.
yeah. Their whole relationship is weird, and maybe it's. I guess it's not for us to make sense of it, right, Katie?
I
Like if,
guess not.
if it's working for them, good
Good for
for
them.
them.
Good for them.
So at the end of episode one, we get this very weird setup of how we're going to reunite everyone. They're going to do a football game, a
I
flag
hated this.
football.
I hated
And
this.
listen, let me tell you, Katie, when I heard it, I was like, this feels so forced. This was definitely the producer saying, let's
Yes.
be different. Instead of having a party like we do every season, let's get everyone together, but at a football game.
And a flag football game. Like, let us at least see people tackling each other if we're gonna have to watch
Yeah,
them play
let us
football.
talk some anger, Like let's
Yeah. Like, why are we
so
playing football? Who thought that anybody wanted this?
they made it seem like it was Zach and Bliss's idea, but to me, it feels like production was like, "Come on,
Yeah.
guys, we need y'all to do something, and this is how we're gonna get everyone together. So let's go play flag football."
Yes. And then we got all these random ass people.
Yes, and then we get like 15 other characters who
Well,
got
I
like
guess
a
they
minute
need
of
to make
screen
their football
time.
teams, right? So they needed to bring the other people back.
Yes, very true. So yeah, so that's kind of like where episode ends. Episode one ends. We see a few. We didn't even see everyone yet. We still haven't talked about Marshall yet. We haven't seen what he's been up
Hmm.
to. And so when we jump into episode two, to me this episode felt also a bit uneventful. It kind of felt
Yes.
like build up to the episode three, which is where we get to most of the meat. I'm looking at my notes here. Let's see. We finally get to see Marshall here, so I
Yeah.
guess we can talk about that for episode two. So we get to see Marshall. Marshall, like I mentioned earlier, he ended off things with Jackie. Things ended off really toxically, but now he's with someone. He's been with someone named Shay
Yes.
for a year,
Hmm.
and who he says makes him feel secure in himself as a man, which we saw was a big issue with Jackie. So that's good for
Yes.
him.
Yes.
We don't actually see Shay, I don't believe.
I think we see her like briefly, but I don't think she says anything on camera. But I think she's there with him and who else? Zach and Bliss, maybe? Or I don't remember who, but they were like meeting up with somebody in the beginning of that
Oh
episode.
no,
So
they
I think
met
we
with
do see her.
Tiff and Brett. They had like a
Oh, okay.
double
Tiff and
date.
Brett. Yes.
Tiff and
Okay.
Brett had a double date. Yeah, you're right. Tiff and Brett had a double date with Shane Marshall.
Yeah.
And this apparently they're very happy. They've been together for a year. So good for Marshall. So
Good for
Katie, I know
Marshall.
you said you were never the biggest Marshall fan, but now that we've talked about everyone else from the original season,
Yeah.
how do you feel about Marshall now watching him in these three episodes? Do you feel any different? Do you think he's changed,
No.
grown?
No,
No?
I literally don't care about this man. Like, I don't care. As soon as he came on the screen, we had none of him in the first episode. And
Yeah.
then as soon as he came back, I was like, oh, yeah, Marshall. I just like, he doesn't do it for me. I feel like he's also shady with the whole thing of the taking the ring back. And she said no. And then they were like, well, he wanted to propose to someone else. And then we find out from Jackie's friend, whose name I don't remember, who was also in the pods. She
Oh,
reached out
Monica?
to Marshall, not Monica, the other girl who she was having drinks with.
Oh yes, wait. I think I wrote her name. Kasha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think her
yeah.
name was Kasha.
We find out that he said he went on one date with her, but she's like, no, we definitely went on more dates. And Jackie at the reunion said he wanted the ring back to propose to another cast member. So
Hmm.
Marshall's not all he is making himself out to be either. He's like just as shady and clout chasey, I think, as Jackie.
And he did himself no favors for you these three
No,
episodes.
he did not. I'm not a fan. Still not a fan. He was kind of
Um,
inconsequential to me for the most part, so I can't like be mad at him. But like, I don't need an update on Marshall. I'm
yeah,
good.
I agree. I mean, Marshall was just, you know what? Like I keep saying, I'm happy that he's with Shay. Like I'm trying to be a bit
Hmm.
more positive with these people because they are here to find love. So good for Marshall for finding
Yes.
love. But yeah, I also agree. I didn't really care for Marshall on the show. He said some messy things to Jackie just the same way
Yeah.
she said some messy things. So good for him that he's happily with this Shay person.
Yes. I
Um,
hope he's just not treating her like a project like he treated Jackie. Because he
yes.
treated Jackie like she was a
I
project
mean,
to
he
fix. I mean, he
verbatim
said that.
said,
He said
yeah.
that. Yeah. So yeah,
So
hopefully he treats his new girlfriend a little better than that.
Yep. So then, yeah. So like I said, we had that double date with Tiff and Brett. Tiff and Brett are great as always. But we move on from there, and we get to see the return of two other big figures in the original season, Shelby and Irina.
Shelby, our girl Shelby
So
is back.
so we get like a little like all three of them go out, Micah, Shelby, and Irina,
Hmm.
and they're kind of catching up on how where things are going. Micah and Irina seem to be friends again because I felt like at the end of the reunion they seemed like they weren't
Yeah.
really talking, but now it seems like they've been talking after the reunion. They seem to be friends. They get along again together. They were kind of the mean girls in the original season for anyone listening who didn't watch. Irina, like I said earlier, she ended up saying yes to Zach, but then she like nothing. The moment she saw
Oh my
Zach,
gosh,
she
she
was
hated
like
him.
repulsed by his existence. It felt and treated him like he was some kind of pariah. Like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah, she
touch
was
me.
horrible.
Yeah, it was very bad, and she was like the villain of the season. She came back at the reunion and she tried to apologize, but like I don't know if Irina knows how to apologize.
No, I don't think she does based on what we saw later.
And then yeah, what we see in episode 3, which we'll get
Yeah.
to. So like, uh, how do you feel about Irina? Like, Katie, now that we see Irina again, do you think she's grown, changed, anything different about Irina?
No, I don't think so at all. I think she's the same person. I think she just saw herself on TV and saw all the hate she was getting, so she's trying to do a little bit of damage control. But I think deep down she's like still not a nice. Like you don't change who you are, and clearly like that drastically, and clearly she was just an asshole. So I think she's still deep down probably an asshole. She's just trying to present herself like less of an asshole.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Like, I'm not buying what Irina's putting down. Um, I remember when the reunion aired, she was trying to start her own business, and there was some talk that like this was like her apologizing was her trying to like save her business. So
I'm sure, yeah.
that's what it really seems to me that Irina's just trying to save face. And I agree with you, Katie. In these 3 episodes, she did not make it seem like there's any other reason. Like she
No.
doesn't seem genuine at all. Um, so that's my thought on Irina as well. But we also see Shelby again, who seems to now be a main character. I mean, she was important in the original. So Shelby is Micah's best friend to anyone who doesn't know. And she was automatically anti-Paul from the
Yeah,
moment she met
hated
Paul.
Paul.
She hated Paul. She was like, Micah, this is not the man for you. Do not marry him. She was basically in Micah's ear the whole time, like, girl, don't do this. She
Hmm.
was pretty mean about it too. Like, there was this whole thing about like Micah and Irina being the mean girls. And then when we meet Shelby, it seems like Micah had this history of being
Yeah.
friends with girls who seem to be a little mean because Shelby also seems like a mean girl, and that's kind of the only side we really saw of her in the
Yeah.
original show. So she comes back, and you know, I feel like they brought Shelby back so heavily in these 3 episodes because, like we mentioned earlier, they just did not have anything else to talk about. So
Yeah.
we got to see more of Shelby, but I didn't want to see more of Shelby. Did you want to see more of Shelby, Katie?
I always love a Shelby sighting because she's a mess, but I didn't even feel like she was that messy in these episodes. Like it felt like even with Arena, like I didn't really get that much from her. It just seemed like nothing was really going on, and they just had these people, and I was just like, oh, Shelby. But it didn't feel like there was much going on with her. We found out she had a boyfriend for a while, right? She was like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
good.
So yeah, that's actually true. Like normally Shelby talked a lot more. Like these
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes, like she kind of was just there. Like maybe she was just another member they needed for the football team.
Maybe.
So
Yeah,
they were like,
maybe.
let's throw Shelby in because otherwise we cannot make this corny football game happen.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so they sit down, they chat a bit, and from there we move on to we got a segment of Jackie speaking to the Kasha girl who we mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, who was the girl that Marshall dated for a bit after the season ended.
Yeah.
Apparently, her and Jackie are besties now. Very interesting to see that because
Very.
Jackie had her issues with Marshall, and she was. It almost seemed like so when the reunion aired. In my opinion, it seemed that like Kasha was there to like make Marshall more redeemable. Like, no, Marshall's a nice
Yeah.
guy. Like he's dating me now. Like it was just a misunderstanding him and Jackie had, and like he's a good guy. But then we find out that Jackie and Kasha are now best friends. So how do you feel about this Kasha girl? Like, do you think we got enough from her? Do you wish we would have seen more of her? Do you think she was necessary? How do you feel, Katie?
I feel like she's a little shady, maybe, and she wants some screen time. I don't know. I feel the same. Like, it just feels like all these people that Jackie is friends with. I don't know if it's that, like, Jackie needs allies, so she's friends with all these people in the pods that we never got to see, or she's actually friends with them and they're just trying to use Jackie for like, I don't really know what's going on here, but it does seem weird. The whole thing, the whole concept is weird to me, and I guess, like, obviously it's not the same as regular dating, but to be like besties now with someone who's dating your ex-fiance because you broke up with your fiance, she reached out to Marshall to check in on him because she liked him in the pot.
Mhm.
It's just so messy and weird. And now it's just like, oh, that didn't work out, so we're besties again. It's just weird. It's just a weird relationship. But
Yeah.
I'm always down to meet some new people and have some drama. This is like the only semblance of drama we had at all. But we didn't even like see her and Marshall really interact with each other. So I'm like, what is the purpose?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I fully agree. We do learn something interesting. Apparently, Kasha has also blocked Marshall, so maybe that's what they bonded about. That it seems like
Yeah.
her. I wish we would have gotten more of that backstory. Like,
Yeah, me
what happened
too.
between her and Marshall? Why did they end on bad terms? Like, because it
See,
seemed like at the
Marshall is
reunion.
trying to be a nice guy, and I don't think he's actually a nice guy.
Exactly. That's how I
Hmm.
felt after seeing this interaction. I was like, wait, another girl is blocking Marshall.
Yeah.
It seemed like at the reunion, like Kasha, like I said, was there to make Marshall seem like a good guy, but maybe he's not as good of a guy as we thought.
Right, right.
So maybe that's why they introduced this Kasha girl. But like you said, like it was nice to see her. I wish, yeah, that we've got a bit more closure on like what happened with her, and Marshall.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Um, but moving on from that, we see another old person brought back in episode 2. We see Amber. So for
Yes.
someone who forgot who Amber was, but now I remember because I
I
am
forgot who she
podcasting
was.
about this, so I had to remember.
Uh-huh.
So Amber was the girl that Paul said no to. So Paul and like I mentioned earlier, Paul and Micah ended up getting engaged, but originally Paul was stuck between Amber and Micah. But he said no to Amber, and then there was this whole scene of where like Amber was like crying and boohooing, and Micah and Irina were there, and Irina went to spy on her, and Irina kind of was laughing at like Amber's pain almost, and it was actually kind of sad to watch. And
Yeah.
it really highlighted like the like mean girl attitude that like Micah and Irina were giving in the beginning of the season. But now we see her with Bliss. So apparently her and Bliss are besties,
I
which
guess
news
so.
to us. We're learning a
Yeah.
lot this episode's about like other people instead of the couples that we actually should be following,
Hmm.
in my opinion. But
Agreed.
they tell us that Amber met someone in San Diego and she's very happy.
She
Um,
was like, I went on like a date with him. I don't know. It felt like very much like she went on one date, so now she's moving to San Diego just to like be closer to him. That's the vibe I got from it. It felt like it was a little desperate.
yeah, no,
Sorry, Amber.
I fully agree. I think Amber wanted some more screen time. And
I think
maybe
so
if I
too.
was on reality TV, maybe I'd want more screen time. So I would like throw out a little like tidbit of this.
Right.
But we do see later on. I'm just gonna jump into episode 3 because Amber does bring up the San Diego thing. Her and Paul end up talking in episode 3 at Chelsea's
Hmm.
B-Day party, and they have this weird like little thing like, oh, I'm moving to San Diego. Oh, you're moving to San Diego. Apparently,
Yeah.
Paul's also
I didn't know
there
Paul
for
was moving to
work or
San
moving.
Diego.
I don't know what's going on there, but apparently
Yeah.
Paul's also going to be in San Diego at the same time as Amber, and they had history. So they had this little like moment,
Right.
which I don't know what the real purpose of it. I feel like it didn't
I don't know
resolve.
either.
There was no resolution at the end. It was like, hey, you're moving there, me too.
And meanwhile,
Um,
she was like, he ignores me every time he sees me in public. And he was like, I don't
yeah,
want a scandal because I got accused of touching someone's butt. It
yes,
was
there was.
weird. Yeah.
So Amber, whatever, she showed up. I really don't really have much else to say about Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we keep saying they needed to bring people to fill in the airtime here, guys.
Hmm. Totally, totally. I feel like Amber, at least at the end of the episode, like she was kind of a dramatic figure, at least like during the pods. So I feel like at
Hmm.
least in the third episode we got a little something with her and Arena, but like even that was like a non-story for
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
I fully agree. But like we said, they had to give us a little bit of spice. So I guess her and Irina having that little altercation was like the little bit of drama they wanted to show.
Hmm.
But going quickly back to episode 2, the last thing I want to talk about is we see Chelsea and Kwame again, and my favorite person shows up. So they're doing
Ah,
like
yes.
they have like Chelsea's pre-B day dinner with Chelsea's family, and we see Barbara,
We
Kwame's
love
sister,
Barbara.
who I absolutely loved in the original episodes. For anyone who doesn't know, Barbara is Kwame's sister, and she was like super supportive of Kwame and Chelsea when Kwame was dealing with the whole struggle of his mom not supporting the marriage. But she was there from the beginning. She seemed like a really sweet person. She had a very level head. She was there supporting Chelsea and Kwame, and I was very happy to see her back. And I thought it was nice that like they're combining the in-laws. I thought that was cool to
Yeah.
really show like the growth of like where Chelsea and Kwame's relationship has been at. Because even Kwame's brother, who also appeared on the regular episodes, he also came to this
Hmm.
pre birthday dinner for Chelsea. We also learn here that Chelsea met Kwame's mom at Thanksgiving dinner,
Yes.
which is
That's a
great to
big
hear.
step.
Yeah, so because that was like a big point of contention for the relationship. But how do you feel about this whole like Kwame Chelsea dinner, Katie? Do you have any thoughts about it? Were you happy to see this pre-birthday dinner happen? Do you feel like we got any good information from it?
I was glad to see Kwame's family. I was happy to see that like they're integrating their families together. At least they are for the camera anyway. But it does seem like Chelsea and Kwame's sister, they said that they went out to the grocery store earlier together. So it seems like they're actually like seeing each other and hanging out, which I really do like. Like that seems like very genuine and nice to me. And I just I kind of feel for Kwame. I know a lot of people didn't like him in the first season, and he's not my favorite necessarily. I mean, I don't have a favorite, and I don't really care about any of these people, but I do feel for him because I feel like he made so many sacrifices, and like his mom didn't want to be involved. She didn't come to the wedding, so it's nice that his sister and his brother are there and like supporting him, and it's not just him sacrificing his whole life to move to Seattle to be with her and just have to be stuck with her family. And I'm not saying stuck, like I'm sure he likes her family, but it's nice that he can like have a piece of him there too. I like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like for me, these three episodes were very good at getting me to finally like kind of like the Chelsea and Kwame relationship. I feel like
Yeah.
I was very like kind of like over it and kind of against like when I was watching, like I wasn't really vibing with them as a couple. But
Hmm.
it seems like I said earlier, like they seem to be getting along really well. They seem to be integrating each other well. I'm very happy that, like I said earlier, that she met Kwame's mom. Like that's a great big step. So hopefully they continue to prosper, and it seems like they are. So I am happy to see that as
Yeah.
well. That was like for me like the highlight of like this episode, this little dinner here, just seeing that like Justin and Kwame really are still strong. So good for them.
Yeah. Good for them.
And then episode two, we get a little bit more Jackie and Josh talking. I don't know if you have anything to say about them.
No.
And then the episode ends on this flag football thing. So they leave us on a cliffhanger, everyone. This is the
A
cliffhanger for episode three.
cliffhanger for the football.
Yeah. So they leave us off this cliffhanger. Everyone's coming in to meet each other and to start the flag football game. And now we can finally jump into episode three, which is the last episode of the after the altar thing. So the first half of it is really this flag football
We
game
spent way too much time at this football game.
with no drama. Like, I'm sorry,
No
if there
drama.
was going to be a football game, I need drama.
Me too. We need drama. We need tackling. We need there to be like fighting about the score. Like we just need something happening here. And then literally nothing happened other than them actually playing football, which like who actually cares?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I kind of want to talk about, which we did get a nice scene of, so Chelsea and Micah were, we get a scene of Chelsea and Micah where they sit down, like it seems like an intermission or whatever in between during the match of the flag football game. They're sitting on the field and they finally get to chatting. So, as we know, Chelsea and Micah had a rocky relationship just because, Micah and Kwame had history, and they when they first met, I didn't mention this earlier. So the way that the show works, like after the pods moment, they go to like the honeymoon moment, and in the honeymoon moment, there was a very awkward scene of like Micah almost flirting with Kwame and Kwame flirting
Yeah.
back, and throughout the whole season, really, there was this almost like will Micah and Kwame like kind of rekindle stuff whenever they see each other? It would be like this weird like will they won't they, which it doesn't seem like that exists anymore, which is great.
No.
But it does seem like we finally get the closure that these two need. So they sit down and they're talking about just how where Micah is in her life and where Chelsea is in their life. And Micah's basically saying, "Oh my God, I'm so happy how things are going so well for you and Kwame." And then I think Chelsea's being really nice, but Chelsea's also being a little shady
She
because
was being very shady, I felt like. Yeah.
yeah, because we got the moment which to me was really funny, which I had to write down was Micah's like, "Oh my God, I can't find my person. I lived in Arizona, now I'm moving to Seattle, and I still can't meet someone. Where do I find my person?" And Chelsea just goes, "Your person's not in Seattle. Like, who knows? Just move somewhere completely different. Move to
Yeah.
Brazil," she says. Like,
Yeah.
get out
Brazil.
of here. Get away from me as far as possible.
Yep. That
And
was funny.
yeah, that was super shady. I know from Chelsea's part. And it landed
She was
well. I
like,
did
your man's
laugh.
not here. You
Yeah.
just go. And then she was like, run after him. Go.
And Micah was played it off well. She's like, haha, yeah, you're so funny. Like, maybe you're right. But then they end up hugging, and it seems like they're on good terms finally, which is good because closure is super important. I feel like we got a lot of closure throughout these three episodes, and it's nice to see the end of this like Chelsea and
Yeah.
Micah saga because I feel like we didn't get that kind of closure in the prior episodes of the show.
Yeah, for sure. I think Micah said something to her along the lines of like how strong she is and how she looks up to her and she like
Hmm.
inspires her, which is nice. Like I feel like Micah got a really bad villain edit at the beginning. And like yeah, in the pods she was a total asshole. But when she was with Paul, I actually didn't think she was that bad. Like she
Yeah,
didn't seem like she was that bad.
fully
And I
agree.
don't feel like she's that bad here either. And we don't really know like there's been a lot of things coming out around like production, how they don't feed them, and that there's always alcohol. So like who knows really what was going on in the pods when they really were under full control from production, like they weren't in their own homes or anything like that. So, I'm not saying I give her a pass, but I think there were probably external factors at play. Plus, like when you're in those like weird pressure cookery type of situations in competition with people, like the worst of you comes out. So I think
Yeah,
as a person, like Micah's probably not that bad. And maybe she's doing a little growing. Who knows?
yeah, I agree. Like it seems like I was saying this when in the earlier episodes during the podcast, like when Micah's not around the Irina or the Shelby, like
Yeah, she's
she's
like
like
fine.
fine, like she's like a
Yeah.
sweet girl, like she seems like and I agree. It feels like seeing this scene and throughout this episode, really, we see a lot of like moments of Micah like getting closure with a lot of different people, and I thought it was nice to see that as well, that kind of growth from Micah, as opposed
Yeah.
to like where I feel like Irina has not grown at all.
Agreed.
For me, Micah's growth seems a bit more genuine, and I do like to see that.
Yeah, same.
So in case anyone who's listening cares, Pod Squad wins the game.
Versus what were the Golden Gobs
The
or
Golden
something?
Gobs,
Yeah.
woohoo,
Yeah. Woo.
whatever. Like I
Mm.
literally wrote like, should I care? Like, do I care? Like, no one wins anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What did they win? Nothing. They were like, I
Nothing.
don't know. They had jerseys made, obviously production, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing was a mess.
Um, but then we move on to the real. This is where the real meat of these 3 episodes comes in.
Yeah.
We go to my favorite scenes in all the after the altars is when we get like a little party.
Yeah.
So in this season, we get Chelsea's birthday celebration, and we get everyone and their mothers invited to.
Oh my
Anyone who has
God.
stepped in those
Literally
pods
anybody. Yeah.
was invited. Like there were so many people who I did not know, which who ended up being somewhat consequential, which we'll
Yeah.
get into shortly. Like this Monica girl, who had a bit of drama. But yeah, we meet a lot of people. We meet this girl named April. Micah brings her friends, Michaela. We see Shelby again. Marshall brings a friend too. Someone
Yeah.
named Jimmy and Kendra who were apparently in the pod too. Like I just wrote down the names just because I had to like say their names because like
Yeah.
who are these
Right.
people?
Who are these people?
But we have
Was
to fill up.
Marshall's friend in the pod too? Or
No,
that
he
was just
was
a
not. It
random?
was just a
Okay. He was just a
random. He
random
brought
guy.
his
Okay.
friend. Yeah.
Okay.
Um.
See, we need Marshall to bring his girlfriend.
Yes. Why didn't
Hello.
she?
Why are you not bringing your girlfriend here?
You know what? She's smart.
Mess.
She's probably like, listen,
Yeah.
the drama you have with Jackie,
Yeah, like I'm not trying to
I'm
be
not
involved
trying
in
to get
that.
involved. So
Mhm.
honestly, I think Marshall's girlfriend made the right choice by not showing up to this
You're
mess.
probably right.
So yeah, so we get to Chelsea's birthday party. Again, we start with a Brittany and Tiffany speech because, as we all know, they are the stars. They are the
Hmm.
voice of the season, it seems. And then we can just straight. So the first little, I don't know, if altercation or discussion we have is, like we mentioned earlier, Irina and Amber. So
Yeah.
Irina pulls Amber to the side, and they start to talk. How did you feel about this conversation with Irina and Amber?
So I thought this was kind of interesting because like Arena kind of started it off like in an okay place, but then she was like,
Mhm.
I also didn't even know you were crying. Like she was trying to
That
apologize to her, and then she's like, also like I didn't know you were crying, but like she clearly knew she was crying. Like it was so obvious that she was crying. You could hear her crying. She probably saw her crying, but when because you could see her in a certain position where like she was hiding. Like there's no
yeah.
question that she didn't know. And Amber called her out and she's like, you knew who I came back out from a date with, like you knew what
Mhm.
happened, you knew I was upset, like don't even. So I'm glad she called her out on it. But yeah, Arita started on a high-ish note and then like plummeted way back down to just mess where she's used to being.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like I mentioned earlier, I felt like, okay, we're finally gonna get a real Irina moment. Like she started out great.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. Blah blah blah. And then yeah, when she added that, I couldn't see you crying. It's like, girl, be serious.
Yeah, I
You
know.
saw it. We saw it. We all saw it.
Everybody saw it.
Just if she would have just stopped right before there, the apology
Yeah.
should have just stopped right there. But that's like
Mhm.
why I keep saying like Irina's really not sorry. Like she's doing
No,
this,
she's not.
and she doesn't even know how to apologize. She doesn't know how to stop herself from being like low key like a bad person or a villain. Like she doesn't know
Yes.
how to where to like stop that line. So I definitely feel like this interaction here really showed that like Irina still needs a lot of room, has a lot
Yeah.
of room for growth. that, like we
Totally.
mentioned earlier, that it seems like Micah has started to go down that path and Irina has not. And this
Yes.
was a perfect scene for that.
Totally. Totally.
So then the next part of drama we get Paul and Micah to finally get to chat. So Paul grabs Micah and pulls her to the side, and essentially we get this conversation of them trying to figure out like where we are and where we're going to go on from here.
Hmm.
And we basically see Micah saying, "I kind of need closure." Apparently, Micah and Paul have been texting and they've seen each other a few times. And Micah's kind of saying like, "I can't really do this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to move on from you. I'm not ready for a friendship with you, and I feel like we kind of have to cold this, kind of cut it off like cold turkey, like just that's it, like
Hmm.
no more communication moving forward." How do you feel about that, Katie? Do you think that was a mature decision? Is that how you would handle if you were in that kind of situation? What do you think?
Yes, I mean I dead when I break up with people, I dead them. Like
Yeah.
they get blocked on everything. I don't want to see a picture. I don't want to know anything about them. So I think this probably should have happened a long time ago because it just feels like the situation is lingering. And if Paul's seeing
Hmm.
someone else, like what are you doing texting your ex fiance? Like,
Yeah.
granted, they were only together for a couple of weeks on the show, but that does sound like they had some situations outside. And if you're seeing someone else now, like he should have told her. He shouldn't have had his, or like I don't know if he had his mom, but like his mom shouldn't be the one to tell her. He should be upfront and
Yeah.
saying, I'm actually seeing somebody. Let's keep this just as friends, whatever. And he didn't do that. I think Paul is kind of lame, to be completely honest. So I'm not surprised that he didn't do the right thing. But I think Micah did the right thing here of saying, like, I need some, we got to cut this off. So I support her on that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I pretty much I fully agree with you. There are some people who could break up on like amicable terms and kind of be friends, and
Yeah,
that's not
no,
for
I'm good.
everyone.
Nope.
So, and I think that's important of Micah to realize that, and that like further shows Micah's growth. Like she realizes like I can't keep doing this back and forth.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is here that like we mentioned earlier, we see that Paul is also saying like I kind of still I felt like Paul didn't have feelings for Michael, but he really made it seem like, oh, even though we're still talking, I still have had feelings for you, which I thought was an
Yeah.
interesting I guess revelation for me, that I thought like I really thought Paul was over it. For me, it seemed like Michael was still hanging on and Paul was not. But
Yeah.
Paul does say that he also has feelings with her, which I guess for Micah's probably a bit reassuring, so it doesn't make her seem like she's like the crazy one.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one with feelings here. So I thought it was nice for Paul to share that, and I hope he's being genuine about that. And I agree with you overall, though. It was nice to finally see this closure for them, and I think that's the best step for them because, especially if Paul's seeing some other girl, like, come on, like, let's hang this up.
Yeah.
We can't keep doing this. And
Totally.
it was weird though, where Paul says maybe down the road we can see each other again, and Micah was like, and in that moment I got annoyed at Paul's like, bro, like
Yeah.
Micah's clearly trying to be like very mature here and end things off. Why would you even say that?
I know. And like
That
you're trashing
that
her to
rubbed
your
me the wrong way.
mom. Yeah. And it's like he's making it seem like, oh, well, my new girlfriend likes this, but Micah didn't like this, and blah, blah, blah. My new
Yeah.
girlfriend. And I'm like, okay, so do you like her or not? Because it seems like you hate her. So, like, what's the deal? It
Hmm.
seems like you just can't stand her. So, plus the fact that he said that he can't see her being a mom and like she doesn't have that nurturing,
Yeah.
like, whatever vibe or whatever in her, like I don't know. Micah's better than me because I don't know that I would be able to come back from that to get publicly embarrassed like that by this
Mhm.
man. I she Good for her for even like entertaining this guy because what a jerk.
Yeah. I agree. Like the way they ended things off was, I think that's a crazy way to end a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
But good for overall. Glad Micah got the closure she wanted.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of the Paul and Micah saga finally. So
Yeah.
now we move to the biggest piece of, or the chunkiest, meatiest part of the drama,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed, but I kind of wanted a bit more.
Me too.
I kind of wanted this for 3 episodes as opposed
Yeah.
to just getting
Like
this for
5 minutes.
literally
Yeah.
the last like 10 minutes, and then the show ends forever. We get like the best part of the drama. So
Right.
we hear Josh and Jackie talking,
Hmm.
and Josh and Jackie mention someone who's coming to the party named Monica and Kendra. So Kendra's not really important, but just so Kendra and Monica were also in the pods, and they apparently are besties with Jackie. Or were besties. I'm a little confused as we'll get into it.
Were, I
Were they
guess.
besties with Jackie? And essentially, we learned that Josh is still very angry at this person, Monica, because Josh and Monica, we get a flashback of them showing that Josh and Monica actually got married as well, which we never saw in the show.
Yeah. I think they just got engaged. I don't think they
Yeah,
ended up
sorry,
getting,
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
They got engaged. Yes, they got engaged. And even when they showed the scene of them meeting, it reminded me of like Bliss and Zach meeting. Like it felt very like
Yeah.
this girl did not like what she saw.
No. And I
She
don't
did
know
not.
if he liked her either. He was like, she's like, I'm so sweaty. And he was like, yeah, I can tell. And I was like, oh God,
Yeah,
imagine
he
that
was
being like your
dropping like
first impression.
he was doing his weird jokes, but like I feel like maybe this is how Josh like flirts or talks to women because he kind of talks to Jackie in a similar like
Yeah, he's
weird.
weird.
It, I don't know what to say about Josh's like flirting or talking to women habits, but it seems to be working with him and Jackie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so him and Josh and Monica did end up getting engaged. But what happened was that Monica, when the reunion aired a few months ago, apparently Monica dropped on Instagram that she got engaged to somebody. She didn't tag Josh, by the way. I had to look this up because I
Right.
was a little confused. She just dropped like so basically Monica dropped a post on Instagram saying, I'm gonna share my story. So
Hmm.
something no one saw is that I also got engaged and I was there for the same reason as you guys. I was there to find love, blah blah blah. And I'm sad I didn't get engaged. But she never name dropped Josh at all. But somehow, things get out. Obviously, it
Yeah.
got out that it was Josh, and for some reason, Josh felt like Monica was being vindictive or did this on purpose, almost to, I
Yeah.
guess, paint Josh in a bad light. So then Monica comes into the party, and we get Monica and Jackie talking, and we learned that Monica and Jackie were apparently best friends after the show as well for some time. But Jackie is now feeling some type of way about Monica because Josh really doesn't like Monica. So Jackie's having this conflict of like, should I still be friends with Monica given that
Hmm.
Josh doesn't like her? So that's kind of like where we're at right now. So what do you think, Katie, about this whole Monica situation? Do you think Monica was actually clout chasing, like Josh said? Do you think Jackie and Monica should be friends still? What do you think? Tell me, because this is where the meat is.
Yes. Okay. So this whole thing was confusing. So I'm glad you looked it up on Instagram and like
Yeah.
confirmed that she didn't tag Josh. But so she came in and was talking to people, and then they were
Mhm.
like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what they were talking about." But she was like, "Oh well, Josh and Jackie don't want me to talk about the engagement, but I'm here to talk about it." So like she was
Mhm.
being messy when she came in. Like she came
She
with a
was.
mission to be messy. But then she had the conversation with Jackie, and it seemed like partially it seemed like she wanted to be friends with her, but also partially it seemed like she was trying to out Josh for being kind of shitty on camera because she was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be here for you. Whether you, not to say that you won't be lasting forever, but like, I know that you guys go through shit. And I'm like, damn, she's really outing like their dirty
Mhm.
business to the camera right now. Like, I felt like she was totally doing that on purpose. And Jackie, I think we've seen a lot of immaturity from Jackie. This, I felt like Jackie handled herself pretty well. Like she kept it together. Because if this were me and I had somebody who I thought was my friend trying to like out all my shit on camera and do it like strategically, I'd be like, oh, okay, fuck this bitch. But then like Jackie
Yeah.
just kind of like sat there and let it happen. And she's like, all right, let's go get Josh. And that's when I think it even went further off the rails because as soon as Josh came over, Monica was like, "Oh, yeah, you're a horrible person and you're so
Yeah.
immature." And I was like, "Whoa, it doesn't seem like you're trying to mend things at all. You're just like taking
Mhm.
shots at this guy." And it does seem to me like she was being a little clout chasing. Like that was Josh's whole thing is like, well, you're clout chasing. Like there are all these comments saying it was me. You didn't need to
Mhm.
post it. I guess she told Jackie the day before, 2 days before
Yes.
that she was going to
2 days
post
before,
it.
yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing does seem messy. But then there was this whole thing about going to the blogs. And she's like,
Yeah.
I didn't talk to blogs. I
Mhm.
have receipts. I don't know. Do you think she went to the blogs? I think she went to the blogs. Or
I
had
think,
someone else go to
yeah,
blogs for
that's what I was
her.
gonna say. Even
Yeah.
if she didn't go to the blogs, she had someone be like, she had her best friend. She had like a friend
Yes.
of a friend of a friend. Like, yo,
Yes.
let TMZ. I'm just
Yes.
dropping down a
Whoever.
blog. I,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was TMZ, but like, let TMZ know, like, me and Josh got engaged, blah blah blah. But yeah, no, it felt like for someone who's coming in to like make amends, the moment Josh got in there, she got confrontational. Not
Oh my
even Josh
God.
got
Yeah,
confrontational.
she did.
So I thought that was weird for someone who's trying to be like, Jackie, you're my bestie. Like, don't drop me out of your life.
Yeah. Please, I love you.
Um,
You're my best friend. I'll be there for you forever. Not to say that
yeah,
Josh won't be, but like I really will be. I didn't like the way she was coming at Jackie. That she felt shady to me.
I agree. But it was funny to hear Jackie call someone else messy. I was like, girl, be serious.
I know. I know.
Maybe that's why you were
Yeah.
besties. It
Maybe.
seems like Jackie made besties with all these like pod members who
Yes. Are
didn't
messy.
end up being surviving or were messy. Like so it's
Yeah.
very interesting to see that these are the people Jackie surrounds herself with.
Yes. Because it
But
doesn't seem like Jackie's friends with anybody else on the
at
cast, like the
all,
main
she doesn't
cast.
talk to the girls, she barely talks
Hmm.
to the guys. Um oh my god, before we continue, I completely forgot. Did we talk about Jackie and Marshall?
No, I was gonna bring it up after
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
I completely forgot that we did get closure for Jackie and Marshall in this episode. So let's quickly talk about that because that was a quick
Yeah.
conversation, and then we'll come back to the end of episode 3. So at one point we see that Marshall is like, "Bro, I feel very awkward." He's talking to one of the guys or one of the girls, and he's like, "Yo, I feel very awkward here. Like, I need closure. Like, we need to
Yeah.
discuss. We haven't talked about this since the reunion. Blah blah blah." So he pulls Jackie to the side. They sit down in a booth, and they start having a conversation about like how things were handled at the time. And we see Marshall right away. He apologized for the way he handled things, for the things he said to her. And then Jackie, similarly, she apologized for the way she handled things, the things that she said as well. And it seems like they end on a good note. They end up
Yeah.
giving each other a hug, and it's kind of like the beef is in the past. We've squashed it. How did you feel about this interaction, Katie?
I actually was happy to see this, even though I don't love Marshall, and I think Jackie is kind of a mess. Even though, like I said, I wasn't as down on Jackie as everybody else was watching this,
Mm-hmm.
just because of how I felt about Marshall. But I liked seeing this. This was very adult from both of them. It was very mature. They were able to both admit their fault, apologize, hug it out, and move on. And it even seemed like in the beginning when Marshall came in, he like gave Josh a pound or something. Like he greeted
Yeah.
Josh, so it seems like they're
Mm-hmm.
fine. I like this. I mean, they're probably never gonna like seek each other out to hang out,
Yeah.
but like there's no reason to have animosity a year later. I'm glad that they just squashed it and put it in the past.
Yeah, I fully agree. Again, like it was nice to see another couple find closure because that's kind of like what I feel like this is the purpose of After the Altar, so we
Yeah.
can see like these people have mostly moved on or they're still together, etc. So yeah, it was nice to see the end of that saga.
Hmm.
But now we can jump back into the whole Monica, Jackie, and Josh situation. So during the whole conversation, Jackie's the one who gets super frustrated, and at one point
Yeah.
she just walks out, and she makes it seem that like I do not want cameras on me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
why am I here? Why am I dealing with the situation? Like, the man I love is Josh, but like I don't want to be dealing with this drama anymore, which is a very interesting side to see from Jackie because I feel like Jackie
Yes.
lives for the drama personally.
Yes.
So to see her say that, like basically, like I don't want the cameras on me, was very interesting to see. So we see her walk out, and Josh chases her. Like Josh and Monica have some final words, like basically, like you
Yeah.
suck. Like I hate
Yeah.
you, you
Yeah.
hate me. There was no
Yeah.
resolution there between
None.
Monica, Jackie, and Josh. So we don't really know if Monica is still friends with Jackie. I would assume not.
I have to assume no.
And based on my very short Google search, it doesn't seem like they're talking at all anymore.
Okay.
So we get Jackie walking out, and the last we see of Jackie and Josh is Josh saying, "All right, I'm gonna give my mic pack away and we can leave." Like Jackie doesn't want to go back to the party at all.
Yeah.
He kind of seems to be over not just the drama, but the whole show, the whole cameras, the whole
Yeah.
shebang. Did you think this was a Jackie stunt, or do you think Jackie was just super frustrated? What did you feel like about this last scene we see of Jackie and Josh?
I don't know. I mean, I could see it going either way. Like, I thought it was interesting that Jackie said to the camera, like, I'm going to stand by my man, whether he's right or wrong. That's just going to be the way it
Yeah.
is. I was like, ma'am, what? So
Yeah,
I
that was
didn't
a
love
weird
that
line. Yep.
from her. But I feel like there's a lot more to this Monica situation that we are not seeing. Like we're getting like a sliver of the story, and I want to get a better understanding. Like what did the blog say? Like what can we get more here? Why did
Yes.
they break up? How did they break up? Like can we get some more information? Because Monica clearly hates Josh. Josh clearly hates Monica. We don't really find out the full reason other than going to the blogs. It just seems like there's more to it. So I don't know if I feel like it's a stunt. I just feel like there's a lot more that we don't know about that we're probably never going to know about, and then like we just got this weird situation on the show that like doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel like they could have easily, the 30 minutes they spent on this
Yeah, can we
damn
get a whole
flag
episode
football
of
game. We
this?
could have just gotten like 5 minutes of the flag football game, the little Chelsea and
Yes.
Micah talk, and then give me this whole meat and give me the meat and potatoes. What's going on here with
Yes.
Monica? Like
Yes.
this scene, they ended on the most interesting part of these 3 episodes. 'Cause the first 2 episodes were kind of a bore. We didn't really see. We saw like everyone's happy, blah blah blah. And the
Mhm.
reason why we're here because we watch reality TV for some mess here, guys.
Yes, we
We get
do.
a very abbreviated version of the story that for all the talk that we've been having about all these couples finding closure, we, the audience,
We
did
have
not
no
get
closure.
closure.
None.
I did
None
not
at
get
all.
the closure I wanted on this Monica situation. So that is
Yeah.
definitely, as the highlight of the 3 episodes, it's also the low point of the 3 episodes because I'm annoyed that we did not actually. I feel like I still don't know the real standings of what happened between Monica, Josh, and Jackie, and we'll never know. It
No.
seems.
I know, it's so weird. It's just like out of nowhere, they're like, "Oh, Monica's coming," and it's like, "Oh, Josh is gonna leave." Like he won't. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Who's Monica? Am I supposed to know who Monica is? I don't know who Monica is." And then she comes in, and we find out, oh, they were engaged, and there's all this drama, and then it's like, okay, now the show's over. That's it. And then we also like not only is the show over, we end that and then we get like Brett putting his shoes into a suitcase and then like Chelsea and Kwame at a soccer game. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? What, like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Well, who cares? We already got so much of them. Give me more of this. I want more of this.
Yeah, it was so jarring. Like we got all this great drama, and then the last 5 minutes is like, let's pivot to like a big like a landscape portrait of like Jack,
Yeah.
Brett and Tiffany moving to do whatever, who knows what about the
Right.
shoes. We got Bliss and Zach traveling the world.
Oh, yeah,
Like
that's right. They were at the airport or
which
whatever.
to me, my first thought was like, who's recording this? It's so
Yeah,
awkward. Some of the
great
things they were
question.
doing, like I
Yeah.
was cringing. Like I would hate to be that. Like I don't know, was it Netflix? Was it The Best Friend? Who they third
Yeah.
wheeled? They were recording them doing the like some pretty things that I don't know. It was very weird to see that whole Bliss and Zach
Yes.
montage. And then, like you said, we get the scene of Chelsea bringing the dog. We see the dog. We had to see Chelsea's dog. Everyone.
Always.
The
Yeah.
dog was
We got it.
a big part of the first few episodes. We got to see Chelsea's dog. Rocky is alive and well,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Thriving.
thriving. He's in his
His stroller.
pink stroller because
Yeah.
everything's pink with
Everything
Chelsea.
has to be.
I will say I did like the fact that Chelsea's dad was at the soccer game. I thought that
Yeah.
was sweet as well. That
Yeah.
to really, I think that really brought home the whole idea that like these families are integrated.
Yeah. And Kwame's
And
brother was there, right?
yeah, Kwame's brother was there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And again, like I said this earlier, but for me, these 3 episodes, like one of the highlights, there weren't many, but one of the highlights was seeing that Chelsea and Kwame really grew on me, and like they
Yes.
really do seem to be working out very well. They seem to be very integrated into each other's lives, and honestly, I as much as I didn't want it to, as much as I wanted to know more of the drama, that was like that was a good point to like end their relationship on. Like I really
Yeah.
liked that moment.
I think so too. I agree with you. I feel like I agree with you. There were not many high points of these 3 episodes. Like when I was watching them, I was like, what is the point of this? Like
Yeah.
Netflix, stick to having a party, stick to having the alcohol flowing, stick to the mess. Like that's what we need. We need the parties. I don't remember. I guess it was season 2 where they had like a house party and everybody like stayed at the house. I don't know if you remember that. I didn't watch the whole thing for After
I,
the Altar, but it was like people brought their new girlfriends and
oh
that was like
yeah.
mess. Like give me more of
Or
that. We need them all
my
staying in a house together.
Yes. My favorite one was season 1 when
Yeah.
Damien brings Francesca
Oh my God,
from
yes.
Too Hot to Handle, and Giannina was she's one of my favorite casting on Love is Blind. Like the
Yeah.
girl was like wild. Like she was always ready to fight. But yes, the party scenes, like that was a party scene. The party scenes always give
Yeah.
us a good moment. So
Yeah. They have to learn from that.
they do. So
We
for
don't want
season
flag football.
5, which we do see a preview. The show ends with a preview of season 5. Do you have any thoughts on the short preview? We get this girl talking to this dude, and she's talking about how like her mom says you'll never be in a relation, or you're not meant to ever be in a
Yeah.
relationship. Which damn harsh, mom.
I
Like,
know
why do you say that
that's
to your
pretty
daughter?
harsh. That's
This
rough.
girl. So, did you have any
Rough.
thoughts on this short little clip we got of season 5?
I'm bored. But I guess they can't really show much outside the pods because then we'll all like know who's together and stuff. So, but they did only focus on like one guy and one girl in the preview.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna watch it, but I mean, give us a little something more than that because it wasn't super interesting what they
I
showed
agree.
us.
I fully agree, and I feel like that's kind of how I feel like about Love Is Blind in general. Like the pods portions, we needed like
Yeah.
1 episode or 2 max. Like let's speed through this and
Yes.
let's get to the couples. You know.
Yeah. The couples are where it really gets interesting. The honeymoon, all that
The
stuff. Like
honeymoon,
it gets
yeah.
interesting there. We don't need to spend too much time in the pods for sure.
Yeah, so given that's where the note we end on, Katie, do you have any last thoughts on season 4, on After the Altar? Will you be watching season 5? Did you enjoy the season as a whole, and are you happy where our couples ended? Let me hear your final thoughts.
I actually enjoyed season 4. I felt like it was one of the messier seasons. I felt like the couples were all kind of crazy, except for Brett and Tiffany. So, I was interested to see where they all ended up, but we kind of ended with like a little bit of a whimper because like nothing happened in these 3 episodes. Like, I mean, really, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a bummer that we didn't get like something a little more interesting out of these, but I'll watch season 5. Like I said, I was like a little bored by what they showed us, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of messy drama. So, I'll be seated. It'll be good. Good for these couples. I'm glad they lasted. I think this is the season with the most couples
Yeah,
that got
I think
married,
so
right?
too.
And
Yeah.
maybe that's why there wasn't like too much mess to show because there's like three married
Hmm.
couples. How messy is it going to be? But whatever. Good for them. I'm glad it's working out. Like you said a couple of times, like they're at the end of the day here to find love,
Yeah.
maybe, or be on TV, depending on, or maybe a little bit of both. So, I'm glad that it actually worked out for some of these people and that they're still together for a year later.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be the first divorced, if anybody?
Josh and Jackie.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. They're not even gonna make it. They're not
They're
even.
not going to make it
Oh,
to the
there was
wedding.
a part where he was like, "We don't need a wedding or a ring to like show that we love each other." I
Oh
was
my
like,
God,
"Oh,
he
this
said
guy
that.
like
I don't even
never
remember
wants."
that.
Yeah, he was like talking about her
Um,
outside when they moved into the apartment. I was like, "Ugh,
yeah, that's
ugh,
very awkward to hear.
uh-oh, yeah,
But yeah, I feel like all the other couples will stay together. I foresee like I like Bliss and Zach. Like Bliss is so in love with Zach for whatever reason. Like
mm,
I just want
yeah,
to say that like Bliss and Zach, if they broke up, it would be almost as shocking as if Tiff and Brett broke up because those two
yes,
are like this. If you're watching the video, they're like glued to each other.
yeah."
They like really really love each other, which is great for them. But
Great for them. There's someone for everyone, I
yeah, there's
guess.
some. Thank you.
Yeah, someone
Some
for
people like
everyone.
being serenaded for 2 hours a day.
Yeah, love really is blind. Really
um,
is.
but all right, guys. On that note, I think we pretty much covered everything we wanted to say for Love Is Blind season 4. Love Is Blind After the Altar. So Katie, let the people know where they can find you, where they can see more of you.
Yeah. If you're not sick of me, if you are a regular Silent Podcast listener, you can follow me at Real Slim Katie on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Real Slim Katie with an underscore at the end. And you can catch me here on Silent Podcast talking all things Bravo with Carrie on Pod What Happens Live. You can catch me talking The Challenge with Josiane on TJ Hates Quitters. And you can catch me on Bounced Checks, our Big Brother podcast. We're covering Big Brother 25 with Isaiah, Josie, and rotating guests like you, Javier. You've been on a few podcasts with us too,
Yes.
which has been super fun. So yeah, we just had our exit interview with Red, Janelle and I. So check that out. That's out on YouTube. So yeah, that's where we are. That's where I am.
Yep. So everyone go follow at Real Slim Katie. And for me, you can follow me at underscore the Starboy on Twitter. I share all my thoughts on other shows I'm watching. You can catch me throughout, like Katie said, on Silent Podcast. I feel like Katie and I are like almost like a duo. Like whenever
Yes.
I'm on a podcast, Katie's on it, which
Yes.
is great, and I
But I
love it.
love it.
Katie and us always have great banter, and it's always great to
Yes.
hear Katie's thoughts. But yeah, follow me on Twitter, hear all my thoughts. In case you guys don't know who are listening to the podcast, season 5 is premiering, I believe, September 25th. So in about a week and a half or 2 weeks. So hopefully catch us back here on Love Is Blurry. That is in the works. So come back to hear our thoughts on season 5, see what new couples we meet, and see if we can find another Brett and Tiffany. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.